Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 15b, top of the page. With about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words into it. Ihachi. Ihachi, if so, my time with Yehuda del Sa, going to show you the Gemara asks, if so, what is the reason that Rabbi Yehuda prohibited consumption of the meat on Shabbat? The Gemara answers, he issued this ruling in a case where one had a critically ill person in his household before Shabbat, and that person recovered. In that case, although the unslaughtered animal was not set aside from use when Shabbat began, it is prohibited to slaughter it on Shabbat. According to Rabbi Yehuda, if he slaughtered it unwittingly, its consumption is prohibited on Shabbat. And that which Rav silenced the Tana for not stating that an unslaughtered animal is set aside from use, even when the prohibited labor of slaughter was performed unwittingly, it is in accordance with that which Rav Ada bar Acha bar Ada says, that Rav says, and some say it is that which Rav Yitzchak bar Ada says that Rav says, in the case of one who slaughters an animal to feed an ill person on Shabbat, it is prohibited for a healthy person to partake of the slaughtered animal on Shabbat. In the case of one who cooks food to feed an ill person on Shabbat, it is permitted for a healthy person to partake of that food. Okay. Okay. Where were we? My time. What is the reason for this distinction? This food was fit to be chewed before it was cooked, and therefore it was not set aside from use when Shabbat began, and the meat of that animal was not fit to be chewed before the animal was slaughtered, and therefore it was set aside from use when Shabbat began. Omar Papa, Pamim Sheshahid Muta, Kigoin Shahoy Khoile, Miboy Yoim Vashil also Kigoin Shikotzat, Loy Dalas. Rav Papa says, there are times when one slaughters for an ill person on Shabbat, and it is permitted for a healthy person to eat the meat on Shabbat, such as where he had a critically ill person in his household before Shabbat, and the animal was designated for slaughter while it is still day before Shabbat. In that case, it was not set aside from use. And there are times when one cooks on Shabbat for an ill person, and it is prohibited for a healthy person to eat the food on Shabbat, such as where one cut a gourd that was attached to the ground for the ill person on Shabbat, because it is prohibited to detach the gourd on Shabbat. It is set aside from use and forbidden. My time, Kevan Efsha, the Chizais, Bosso, the Loishito, Kiko Shochit, a diet of the Khoile, Koshochet, and Mavash the Khoile, Beshabis, also Boeing Zeva Shema Yabe Shviloi. Rav Dimi of Nerdah says that the halacha is, in the case of one who slaughters for an ill person on Shabbat, it is permitted for a healthy person to eat the raw meat. What is the reason that it is permitted? Since it is impossible for an olive bulk of meat to be permitted without slaughter of the entire animal. When he slaughters the animal, he slaughters it with the ill person in mind. Since the slaughter of the animal is permitted, all its meat is permitted, even for a healthy person. In the case of one who cooks for an ill person on Shabbat, it is prohibited for a healthy person to eat the food on Shabbat. What is the reason that it is prohibited? It is due to a rabbinic decree, lest he increase the amount of food that he is cooking on behalf of the healthy person. Okay, new Mishnah. Hashoichet b'magal yad b'tzo v'kone shchitasoy kshero. In the case of one who slaughters an animal with the smooth side of a hand sickle, which has both a smooth and a serrated side, or with a sharpened flint, or with a reed that was cut lengthwise and sharpened, his slaughter is valid. Hakol shochatinu le'olam shochatinu v'kol shochatin chutz mi'magal kotzir m'ger v'shinayim v'tzipoiren mipnei shehem chonkim. All slaughter, and one may always slaughter, and one may slaughter with any items that cuts except for the serrated side of the harvest sickle, a saw, the teeth of an animal when attached to its jawbone. Ouch, who would do that? It's so painful, terrible, so barbaric. And a fingernail, oof, I don't want to think about that. Because they are serrated and they consequently strangle the animal and do not cut its windpipe and gullet is required. Sarbal Chaim. Big time. Alright. That was painful even to read that. Okay. Gemara. Talmud says, Hashoichet di'ebed in v'chatchila lo b'shlom magal yad di'ma azina v'ebed in v'loch giso and its soul v'konen lechatchila lo u'hameni v'chol shoichet ben so ben v'schuchis bein mekrumis shel konei. The Gemara notes that the language of the Mishnah, which states one who slaughters an animal with a hand sickle, with a flint, with a reed, rather than one may slaughter, indicates that after the fact, yes, the slaughter is valid, but one may not slaughter with those blades. Abinishio. The Gemara asks, granted, one may not slaughter with a hand sickle, lest he come to perform the slaughter with the other serrated side, but as a flint, as a reed, and a reed have no serrated side. Is it so that one may not slaughter with those ab initio? The Gemara raises a contradiction from a Braita. One may slaughter with any item that cuts, whether with a flint, or with glass shards, ouchie, or with the stalk of a reed. Loi kashya, kan betalush, kan b'mechubal. Yom Rab Kahana shoichet b'mechubal kalka. Rabbi poisel lo b'chiyah machshir. Ad kan lo iko machshir b'chiyo. Ela b'diavad. Aval lechatchila lo. The Gemara answers, this is not difficult. There, where the Braita permits slaughter ab initio, it is referring to slaughter with a flint and a reed when they are detached. Here, where the Mishnah says that the slaughter is valid only after the fact, it is referring to slaughter with a flint and a reed when they are attached to the ground. As Rav Kahana says, in the case of one who slaughters with a blade that is attached to the ground, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi deemed slaughter not valid. Excuse me. And Rabbi Chia deems it valid. The Gemara infers even Rabbi Chia deems the slaughter valid after the fact. Well, I may not do so. I mean, issue. My ukme. B'may okamita de Rabbi Chia. בדיעבד, אלא הדתניא בכל שוחטין. בין בתלוש במחובל, בין שהסכין למעלה וצוואר בהמה למטה, בין שהסכין למטה וצוואר בהמה למעלה. מעני לא רבי ולא רבי חייא, רבי חייא דיעבד אין, חסילה לא, רבי דיעבד נמי לא. In accordance with which opinion did you interpret the Mishnah? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia. And the slaughter is valid after the fact. But if so, with regard to that which is taught in a braita, one may slaughter with any item that cuts, whether with a blade that is detached from the ground or with a blade that is attached to the ground, and whether the knife is above and the neck of the animal is below, or the knife is below and the neck of the animal is above, in accordance with whose opinion is it? It is in accordance neither with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi nor with the opinion of Rabbi Chia. If one would claim that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia, he says, after the fact, yes, the slaughter is valid, but it is not permitted to slaughter in this manner ab initio. If one would claim that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he says, even after the fact, the slaughter is not invalid. Le'oilam Rabbi Chia ואפילו לכתחילה בהי דקמפלגי בדיעבד להודיע אחר כך לרבי. The Gemara answers, actually, the braita is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia, and he permits slaughter with these blades, even ab initio. And the fact that the opinions of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and Rabbi Chia were formulated such that they disagree concerning the halacha after the fact is to convey to you the far-reaching nature of the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and that the slaughter is not valid even after the fact. Mani lo Rabbi velo Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia afilo lechatchila Rabbi diavad amilo. But rather, the Mishnah here, which teaches with regard to one who slaughters after the fact, yes, it is valid, but it is not ab initio. In accordance with whose opinion is this? It is in accordance neither with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi nor with the opinion of Rabbi Chia. If one would claim that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia, he says, if one would claim that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Chia, he says, the slaughter is permitted even ab initio. If one would claim that it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he says, even after the fact, the slaughter is not valid. Oilam Rabbi Chia. V'afilu lechatchila umas nisan dikatane shoichet Rabbi. The more answers, actually. Rabbi Chia holds that it is permitted to slaughter with these blades, even ab initio. And the Mishnah here, which teaches one who slaughters, is in accordance with the opinion of Yehuda Hanasi. Kashya, the Rabbi, lo Kashya. Kam mechubar mikaro, kam metalush ulebasov chibro. The Gemara objects, this is difficult, as there is a contradiction between one statement Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and the other statement Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. As in his dispute with Rabbi Chia, he holds that the slaughter is not valid. The Gemara answers, this contradiction is not difficult. There, in his dispute, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi holds that the slaughter is not valid in a case where the blade was attached from the outset. Here, in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi deems the slaughter valid after the fact in a case where the blade was detached and ultimately he reattached it. letalush ולבסוף חיברו. דתניא השויכת במוכני שחיטתו כשרו במחובר לקרקע שחיטתו כשרו נועץ סכין בכויסל ושוחט בו שחיטתו כשרו ויצור יוצא מן הכויסל לא יקרא נעולה מאילוב ושוחט בו shchitas pesula. The Gemara asks, and from where do you say that there is a difference for us between a blade that was attached from the outset and a blade that was detached and ultimately you reattached it? As it is taught in a Braita with regard to one who slaughters with a mechanism, muchni, of a wheel with a knife attached to it, his slaughter is valid. With an item that is attached to the ground, his slaughter is valid. If one embedded a knife in a wall and slaughtered with it, his slaughter is valid. If there was a flint emerging from a wall or a reed arising from the ground on its own, and he slaughtered with it, his slaughter is not valid.